Now, drought is weighing on Zambia's power sector. This as the Southern African nation largely depends on hydropower for electricity generation. In the meantime, a country's energy regulator recently rejected the state power utilities proposal to hike electricity tariffs by up to 156% to help supplement emergency power supply costs. ZESCO board chair Vickson Ncube joins us now with more detail. Vickson, a pleasure. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you, Nathan?
Very well, so how are you?
I am very well.
All right, let's talk about just how much of this drought has weighed on electricity supply. I think we would have spoken a few months ago at the start of the drought. It sounds like it has persisted and has led to more complications with the generation of electricity.
Yeah, no, the drought has had a very devastating effect on the generation of electricity. As you know, the waters in the rivers are shared with other users. We got irrigation companies that need the water for irrigation. We got animal life that needs water for irrigation. There are people who need the water for drinking. So all these things put together have put a huge pressure on the availability of water, which in our case translates into availability of energy.
With that said, I'm keen to find out a bit about just how severely electricity supply has been affected here. How much power is available at this time, Vickson, and how much are you looking to import or have imported to date?
Now, if you remember in our first interview, I did mention on the need to have interconnectors between all our neighboring countries.
Yes.
So that countries with net surplus can then wheel the power to those who are net deficit. And each year there will be reversal. The one that had net deficit last year becomes a net surplus. But unfortunately, as we sit right now, we as a region, SADC, we have not done well on interconnectors. So even when one country has a surplus, we are having huge challenges trying to get the power across. Our deficit is quite huge. We are now operating at less than half our available capacity, meaning that we need to import the balance. But even if we find it, sometimes the problems with the highway that is supposed to transport it from Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, wherever, because our capacities of interconnection is very bad.
I want to speak about, the conversations that are being had here at regional level here, Vickson, because, of course, today the issue seems that it's in Zambia. But with climate change and the way it's going, this could be a South African problem, a Mozambican problem, a Zimbabwean problem at any given point. The lack of progress in terms of the interconnectedness here, what is inhibiting that progress?
I believe we never think as a unity in our countries. We think in silos. We are South Africans, we are Mozambicans, we are Ghanaians, we are Angolans, we are Zambians, we are Tanzanians. If we started thinking about ourselves as one core unit that requires resources across the borders in order to make sure that economic development moves across the borders, that would change our perspective. So when South Africa is the money, instead of putting an interconnector with Mozambique, which can then get to Zambia or Zimbabwe, they are just thinking about there are small problems in South Africa. Similar with Zimbabwe, with Zambia, all of us work in silos. I think it's time meetings on SADC started concentrating on real issues, not just political, who elections were free and fair. That is a secondary issue that occurs once every 5 years. But we've got live issues that require our attention 24/7. I think our political leadership in the countries must now focus on real issues that better the lives of our people.
I absolutely agree with that, Vickson. I also want to speak about, of course, what I'm calling a double whammy in South Africa. We faced the similar challenge here. There's, of course, the issue of today of making sure that there is sufficient power to meet the needs of people immediately, the needs of the economy immediately. But I guess also from a Zambia perspective, there's also a need here to climate-proof, the existing infrastructure here, reliance on hydropower, considering what El Nino can do to the climate there. I'm keen to understand if there are strategies and plans in place to respond to both and how that might be faring.
You see, I'll just quote what the president said in one of the meetings, our president, Mr. Gainde Chilema. He says, when there is no rain, let's look to the sun. Nature always has an answer to every problem that it brings to us. But we are so fixated on what our colonial masters left us. And Nolutando, I always blame our education. Our education is not progressive. It is a compliance-based education that regurgitates that thing that you are taught when you're in class. It doesn't allow us to think, innovate, and invent. We only do that which we knew in class. To me, these problems are not created because there is climate change. It's just because we do not know how to be dynamic enough to be able to change and anticipate problems. We like reacting when there's a problem. Now, I think we have learned our lesson. We are going flat out to change the dynamics of Zambia.
With that said, I also would like to speak then about this 156% tariff that was applied for here at Vickson, and help us understand what the rationale was from ZESCO perspective, and having the regulator push back. What kind of position does it put yourselves in right now, and maybe what the response from your side then is?
No, actually, there is a very interesting narrative that was created by the application. The actual application made sure that the people in the first two layers of our economy, the users of our electricity, were not going to be affected by the change. It was a way of saying don't overuse electricity. So it was targeting the high-end users who tend to have more money than the rest of us. So the lower bracket was not going to be affected at all. Now, what was it trying to do? First and foremost, it was trying to inculcate a sense of responsibility. Don't overuse electricity because you pay more. That was it. But now, the regulator did not just say no. They offered us a solution. They said they can have us access a certain fund, an emergency fund, for 1 month. And then we grow from that fund going forward. The percentage of 158 is, what do you call, an overkill. If I'm saying that if you use, say, 500 megawatts, you're going to pay the last 100 megawatts at 158%. I am not saying I'm applying for 158 increase. The people, the bigger fraction of our people are totally exempt. Over 60% of the people, we're not going to see any change in their tariff. But of course, it sells when you say ZESCO is applying for 158%, because then everyone will read your paper. But that's not the point. It was a deterrent measure to reduce the overuse of electricity by those with too many gadgets, 5 geysers in your house, 2 stoves, 10 fridges. You should pay more for doing that thing in a time of a crisis.
Absolutely hear that argument, Vickson. Well, based on, of course, the rejection of this tariff, what now? How do we, and of course, also, I guess, the limitation in wheeling infrastructure, how do we stabilize energy supply in Zambia at this time?
More importantly than the application is our drive towards solar-based solutions, especially at household levels. We are encouraging house owners to put up solar panels, inverters, and batteries in their home. And we have introduced net metering in Zambia. The more you produce, if you can't use, you sell, but this will make money. So we have converted this crisis into an investment opportunity for people in the country. If I can produce more, then my neighbor is not able to, will find the power coming from ZESCO to their house. That is the forward-looking solution. And we do not intend to stop this thing with just this when we are past this crisis. We are now targeting that the proportion of our supply coming from hydro must continuously fall to the level where it will be below 50%. And we are not going to do that by stopping hydro, but by increasing the alternatives. That is the approach we adopted, and we are pursuing it flat out.
Well, Vickson, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for your openness today, and I hope we do see more of that regional integration where electricity generation is concerned. That was ZESCO Board Chair Vickson Ncube.